All right, let's see if yep, okay. So, we want to talk about the Dominican Republic mission trip this last summer, and if you, and I know Tom can jump in if you want to tell us how that went and what the successes were, and also if you have any suggestions for what we can do to improve it in the future. That'd be great.
So, last year's mission trip was a success. We went to Himani for the fourth time to do a VBS and other service projects in the area, and we had 18 members with us from the diocese, and then we had 18 or so members from their church, from the Dominican church, and that constructed the groups of our VBS. Mm-hmm. And we stayed with the same format of the years past. We did the same groups, so like games, snacks, arts and crafts, music, and then lessons and stories. And we had about 400 kids, which was an increase totally from a lot from the previous years. And we also, one of our service projects that we did was we did the food drive. So we actually went to the local market and we bought food, enough food for most of the families in the area. And we also went to the Haiti-Dominican border to also buy food there. And we made bags of probably like, let's say like 3-4 days, maybe like a week worth of food. And we went and we distributed to the people around that town and also the bordering towns of Himani. We went up, and we didn't necessarily we gave it to like the kids that went to the VBS. We wanted actually to give it to other people that didn't benefit from the VBS. And so we actually went up like mountain ranges and kind of found like little nooks and crannies of little houses of like probably like 8 people in one house or 10 people in one house, and shacks. And then we also walked around the neighborhood, and then we went on a bus to neighboring towns, and we also gave food to some of those people in there as well. And we also gave service projects in terms of money, like for them to fix like roofs for some of the houses that needed it. Also, I don't know all those service projects.
Yeah, we helped to.
We cleaned the park. We cleaned the park, which was awesome. They have this park that really is like broken down, and so like there's a lot of trash and things like that, and a lot of people don't like it's not being used because all this trash. So we decided to actually, with some of the youth that went to the VBS, we gathered up one afternoon after VBS, and we went to the local park and we cleaned it up. We took all the trash out and we raked and all this stuff, and we hear that they're using it now, that it's in use now, so and they're keeping it clean. So that's one of the stuff that we also did. And I don't know what the other.
We asked Father Naphtali if there was a person whose house we could support, and he had one person in mind, and we gave them, I don't even know how much money, but maybe it was a few hundred dollars, which goes really far. And so we helped him essentially to start the foundation of a house.
Wow. For a particular family he recommended.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Who helped with the VBS, which is like he is one of like the strong people, and he's like the maintenance guy.
Yeah.
Of the VBS, and so he kept everything clean
What was his name?
Molver.
Molvet, yeah.
The person we helped?
No, I meant the father.
Oh, Neftali.
Neftali.
Can you spell that?
Nephthali. So,
Okay,
Neftali.
okay,
he's been in the DR for many years. He was born in Haiti. So he's
Okay.
Haitian Dominican.
I had a question about when you were distributing the food. Who did you tell them the food was coming from? How did you?
We kind of said that it was through us and also the church, so that the church also got publicity, so they could also get like members.
The church in the DR.
And
Okay.
the DR that we
Okay.
were
Yeah.
working with.
Okay.
And it was only really to people that had some kind of connection with the church that the father recommended.
Oh,
They may
okay.
not all have been members of the church. A lot
Yeah.
of them were Haitians.
Yeah.
And the Haitians in the DR live, the presiding bishop actually just wrote about the plight of the Haitians in the Dominican Republic
Okay.
for the address to the executive council just yesterday. And
Okay.
the Haitians in the DR live very, very poorly.
Okay.
And often they can't work. They've been there for generations. And so we came on, many families just squatting on land around a fire pit. That was their home. And gave them just a little, 3 days worth of food is nothing,
Sure.
but some prayer and some connection with the church, which hopefully can be strengthened.
Okay. Neat.
That was amazing. That was the thing that a lot of the members of the trip talked about when we were processing. How impressionable that is to go out and see people. Because when you see the kids, especially at church during the VBS, they're all beautifully dressed and clean, and then you go into their houses and think, how did their clothes get so clean living here? It's amazing what the mothers and the fathers do.
What is the church in the DR that you work with?
It's called San Pablo de Apóstol.
Okay.
St. Peter. St. Paul, sorry.
The apostle. Okay.
The Apostle.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Okay. So you said when you processed afterwards, so you down there spoke with the folks from San Pablo about the success of your mission?
Oh yes, we have after every VBS we have like a reflection meeting with our team and their team, and kind of tell us we kind of observe like the success of the day and not the success of the day, and then try to fix it for the next day. And that's where actually we learn a lot from the Dominican team. And we also eat with them during that time, so we get to know them personally as well. And that's where we like learn a lot of the stories of the different people in the town and who needs it and who doesn't need it. Not when I say doesn't need it, but who needs it the most, I said. And we learn a lot of the stories. This year we were actually blessed because we got to work with a lot of the teachers from the school. The church has also a school, sponsors a school right on its premises. And a lot of the volunteers were teachers that work in that school. And so they know the lives of a lot of the children, a lot of the people around there. And so they were a great help in who to distribute the food and what people needed what. And so we were able to help a lot more, I would say. And also the same kid, like the kids know who needs it and who doesn't. When we went to actually distribute these food, a couple of the kids went with us. We call them like the adopted kids because they never leave. So they would always stay. There was always like these 3 kids that would never leave to their house, and they would always like be in our grounds and always wanted to play with us. And so they actually came with us to distribute when we walked through the mountain, up the hills and stuff. They went with us, and they knew and they weren't selfish, which is awesome. Like they were like, I want one, my family. No, they knew exactly who needed it in those areas, and they took us through like this river and through this thing, and they were like, no, this family really, really needs it. And I know there's a one of the stories was a man who was a single father, and he lost his hand in an accident or something, and so they're like, no, they really need it because he can't work no more, so they don't have money, and so they took us through this little river area, and they introduced us to the man. And that was the area where we prayed a lot, where there was that, it was like a shack area, and there was a circle, and we prayed with the family around the circle.
Well, there was another man there who lost all of his family in the earthquake.
In the earthquake, yeah, there was another.
Who'd been in the DR for a while.
Wow.
He lost everybody to the earthquake. And so we also went to his area, which was kind of like a shack. It wasn't really a house.
Yeah.
And there was also a lady that I encountered face to face, and we were actually going up a hill, a rocky hill, I would say, and some of us did it because there was only one house, so just some of us stayed down on the ground, and then other people went up the hill, and I was one of the people who stayed in the street area, and there was a house with like a goat or I don't even know what it was, but it was like an animal in front, and then it was kind of like a box. It was like a box house, and a lady was outside, kind of like under a tree, and so I don't know who it was, but they told me I need to go talk to her, and see, maybe she needs it or something. So I went with a bag, and I went and talked to the lady, and she was Haitian, so she really didn't know Spanish, but I was, she knew a little bit, but I went out to her and I told her this is a donation from the church. We're a mission church, we're a mission team, and we're going out and giving these bags of food, and this goes, we're working with the church, and I was explaining it to her, and I don't know if she truly understood me, but all she said to me was, she's like, oh, thank you, the Lord answered my prayer. And she gave me a hug, and then I left with the rest of the team. So I really know her situation. She explained it to me, but just with that saying, that she was in need. So,
Yeah.
So that was some of the people that we encountered around the way, and
lots of kids.
And lots of kids. And also the neighboring towns that we went. There's a town called Tierra Nueva, which is kind of like the abandoned area. Like there's not a lot of stuff there. It's pretty much like a little town where everybody knows everybody, and also there's like a lot of poverty, a lot of needs, and so they don't have a church. They pretty much just go to one house and they kind of meet outside, and that's the church. And so we went around and gave some food also to some of the people there. And that was a good story too. That they were outside. There was like this group of kids outside with a jump rope, and it wasn't really a jump rope, which was like a rope, but they were jump roping, and a lot of us went over there and kind of talked to the kids, and one of the kids was like, oh, you want to jump with us? So a lot of us like jumped with them and played with them in the street, so that was kind of fun too.
Neat. Now, Ani, this was not your first time going over.
No.
So
This is my third time.
Yeah,
going
okay.
on a mission trip.
What was different about this one?
I say I was different for this one. I would say each year is different in terms of how you grow, in your perspective. The first time I went, everything was new, so I didn't really soak it in. It was kind of like a little chaos, like organized chaos. Like I was going around, and then the second time, I enjoyed it more because I got to really soak it in. And then this third time, I didn't know I was going. Like I wasn't planning to go, and then for one reason or another, God wanted me to go, so I went on this trip, and I would say like. Also, the relationship between the kids, because I've known them more than for 3 years. They really open up to you more.
They remembered you.
And also the fact that poverty really doesn't end. Also, it's eye opening because like we did the bags 2 years ago as well, a year ago as well. And the people that we gave it to them were different. You know, we didn't give it to the same people this time around. And just to see that in that first year we did it, my expression was like, wow, there's a lot of people that really do need this food. And then to see that we didn't repeat those same people, they were actually all new people, is actually eye-opening that there was a lot more that needed this as well. So it's like, you know, we like scratched the surface. We really didn't hit like the total package. There's a lot more, you know, and not even in that place, throughout the country that also needed. It's very eye-opening.
Do people have questions?
I'm overwhelmed by the amount of giving and interaction that there is.
Yeah, it's very
And how broad your span is of reaching out.
Yeah, we actually through the years the team over there grew. The first time there's probably like, I would say like 8 or 10 people from their congregation that helped us, and then the next year probably like 12 or 13, and then this year was like 18, 19 people that helped us. So the congregation like kind of grew a little bit as well, or the people that wanted to help grew as well, and the interaction I feel this time was more because I feel like they knew us more, so they kind of opened up to us more, they trusted us more, and I feel like we could help like more people because you know they know like the priest knows as well, but I feel like the people know each other more, and so they know the situations and the struggles, and one of the things is that they're so humble about it. Like, you know, like if we ask them, who do you think needs this? You know, they might need it, but they won't say, oh no, my family needs it. You know, they've looked to a neighbor, and the kids as well. Like the kids are so mature. You know, they're so young, but they're so mature, and you know, not that they have the same struggles as our kids will have here, and they make it work with what they have, and but they know, you know, they know who needs it, who's not, and it's wonderful because like for us, you see those kids, and you say, oh, those kids are poor, but they don't know that they're poor. That, you know, they make it work with what they have, and they don't really have like the competition that our kids might have because this person has this person has that. They all live in the same community, so they know the struggles of each every day, and they help each other with it. So it's actually wonderful to see like the older kids taking care of the younger kids and things like that. So just the interaction of the people was one of my favorite parts of the trip, because just to see the way of living and how it really isn't as different, I would say, as us. It's just that they have less things that we would have, but they make it work a lot better than what we would, I think, if we were in that situation. And so just to see their day-to-day life was a very good experience.
Wow. That's great.
Does everyone on your group speak Spanish? Or are there any language issues, or does that even a factor at all?
It is sometimes, but this trip was actually a little challenging because we only had like 4 Spanish-speaking people, and then we had maybe 2 or 3 who knew knew some stuff, and then we had like probably 5 or 6 that didn't know no Spanish, and it is an issue and it's not, because the people who didn't know Spanish, there's other ways to interact and to communicate with the kids. I would say, and they helped more in terms of like in the VBS, like passing out things and showing them rather than explaining it, whereas the Spanish speaking people explained it. And so language in a sense really isn't a problem because there's other ways of communication, but it can also like it can be frustrating. I would say if you didn't know the language,
Right.
because you can't really full communicate. You can't really express
Right.
yourself. Where you might want to talk to that child and kind of hear his
Right.
story. And
Right.
you
Get
can't.
more involved,
And
the
get more
interaction.
involved.
that
Yeah,
you're
the
talking about.
interaction. There's other ways to be more involved if you don't know the language, but also I would say sometimes the language could be a factor, but other times it may not. It may not be.
People made it
And
work.
what-
Yeah, make it work. They make it work.
Yeah. Looking toward the future, I assume that there are plans to go back.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to do, or how do you see this developing? And
Well, there's this year. It's gonna be kind of a new mission because we're not actually gonna go back to Himani this year. It's actually we're exploring new options of other towns that might also need the help. We feel that 4 years in one place, where it's not that they're better off. You would say like that. They still have struggles, but they have more resources now since we've gone. And there's other mission trips actually that go to Himani. We're not the only ones throughout the year. So we feel that we would like to go to a place where there's no mission trips that go, and kind of go help another town, another city that might need it. And one of the talks that they're saying is there's a place outside the capital near the rivers, and there's like these people. You would probably call them like squatters that built their houses near these rivers, and when the river overflows, they lose everything. Their house gets destroyed, and especially during hurricane season and things like that, that the river overflows, they lose everything. And then they rebuild in the same places. So every time the river overflows, they lose it because they don't have another place to go. And so that's one of the places that we're thinking of making our trip this year. There's an Episcopal churches around that area that help these people, and so we would like to go and help. And we're still thinking of doing like the VBS as one of the main things, but we're also thinking of maybe other service projects that we might be able to do with them, and maybe help so that they don't get destroyed so much when the river flows.
We had an interesting discussion too about what kind of service project helps.
Right.
Because rather than painting something or building something, the group kind of said it's better to hire people down there. We're putting people to work. So maybe we could give out food like we did before, and definitely help with VBS. Those are skills that we can bring.
And one year in Himani, we also did like a clothes drive with clothes, so that might be something else we might bring to that area as well. But it's in the works though. Like the diocese still has to like send us there.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we're in the process of talking to Karen, which is the head person of diocese with mission trips, and they'll send us where they want, where it's more fit. But we feel that one of our main points is to stay in the capital, because sometimes when you think of the capital, you think, oh, they're well off, but there's places there's places in the capital which they are they're better off than other people. But there's also places like the riverfront and other places in the capital, and maybe like a town outside the capitals that are like forgotten, and so like no mission work is done there. So we would like to go to a place where we might be like their first mission, and kind of help out kids who never had a VBS or never had something like this experience it for the first time.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Unless there are any other questions, we're so happy you were able to share with us.
Thank
That
you
was
for having
great. Terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.